Catherine again, and I'm here to do a book review for the Dorothy Must Die stories. And I listened to this on the audiobook. This is the first 3 stories that Danielle Paige wrote, and the first one is No Place Like Oz, and in this little story it's about how Dorothy came back to Oz. I'm not going to say much really about either of these 3 because they are short stories, and I feel like I don't have enough room to really say a whole lot about it without ruining it. So anyways, the first one, No Place Like Oz, is about Dorothy and her return. She has been back in Kansas for about 2 years now, and she's not happy, which I wouldn't be surprised, because if I went from Oz, this, magical place, back to Kansas on the farm, I don't think I'd be very happy either. So, but no, she's been gone for 2 years, which later we find out in Oz, it's, I want to say almost 100 years. She's been gone for quite some time. And on her 16th birthday, on her 16th birthday, she gets these magic shoes, which they actually sound super sexy, and I would not mind having a pair of my own, especially if they were magic. But so she gets these magic pairs of shoes, and her aunt and uncle, aunt and uncle, go back to Oz. Well, she accidentally sucks them back with her, but she thinks she's doing something good. This is a magical world. She's back where she wants to be, and she's now brought her Aunt Em and Uncle Henry. But they pretty much just want to go back to Kansas. They think it's pretty and it's cool and awesome, but they want to get back to the real world, and Dorothy doesn't want any of that. And you find it, just within the first couple chapters, you can just see how Dorothy has gone from the sweet girl to evil, as you find out in the first book. And yeah, she's evil. We'll just leave it at that. But yeah, this is where, in this one, you find out, what happened to Ozma, how Glinda's involved, and how Dorothy got back, of course. Second one, The Witch Must Burn, and this is Jelia. I will actually say the narrator for this, she had a beautiful voice. I will put what her name is right here. So she had a really beautiful voice, and I liked hers. In this one, we find out how Jelia became a part of the story, and we actually learn more about Glinda in this one, which I think, to be honest, Glinda is probably the evilest person in this entire series from how everything's going down, and her obsession with pink is a tad ridiculous. There's Legally Blonde obsession with pink, which is adorable, and then there's Glinda's obsession with pink, which is psychotic. So, but this is about Jillian. We learn a bit more about her. We actually learn more about her backstory. She's apparently half fairy, which you of course know in the first one. I was really kind of mad because I wanted to know more as to how is she half fairy, who hooked up with who. But yeah, we don't really find that out. But like I said, we find out how Jillian gets involved in everything. So this was actually probably my favorite of the 3 stories. So the next one is The Wizard Must Return, and the guy who narrates this, and I'll put his name right there, his voice was super familiar, and I can't remember. I'll have to look it up and see what it is. But he didn't have a bad voice. Did not like the wizard very much, though. This one is about the wizard, how he came back, although technically we find out he never left. He fell asleep in the poppy fields, and he's been asleep for, I guess, I want to say 50 years. I think they said 50. It's either 25 or 50 years, and if that's the timeline, then that means Dorothy has only been gone for about 25 to 50 years, because he wakes up shortly, a little bit after Dorothy has arrived. So after she started wrecking all kinds of problems. But so we find out about the wizard. He actually kind of doesn't really know he's the wizard until like the end of this story, and if you read it, you'll find out more as to why. There's a lot more. There's monkeys involved in this one. The main monkey is Iris, and if you listen to the audiobook, it's hilarious because Iris sounds like a dude, and she's hilarious. I actually really love Iris. She's obsessed with accounting, and it's like some specific kind of accounting, but no, I love her. She's probably my favorite out of this little story. But we get introduced to Pete, which you know who Pete is, and if you've read the first book. And this is just kind of how the wizard becomes involved. All three of these stories are how Dorothy came back and what everything's about, how Jillian became involved, and kind of what Glinda's goals are. You find out about Glinda, and then this is how what happened to the wizard, and how he's involved in this whole scheme. But yeah, so these are just short little, 3 short stories. There's a 4th one coming out, or it's already come out. I haven't read it yet, but I plan to. I'll give these, if we kind of base it on, I don't know, I'll give the whole collection a 4 out of 5. They were nice, not super informative, but it was just kind of a nice little jog. Narrations were good for the audiobooks. Dorothy's voice, though, the narrator did a good job, but man, she was annoying. Like, Dorothy was annoying, not the narrator. The narrator did it right, but it was just like, wow, if I knew Dorothy in real life, I'd punch her in the face. Just but so there's my book review. It's about 4 out of 5. If you've read any of these, or if you read any of this series, please tell me what you think and maybe how you feel about it. I'm actually already started on the 2nd book, The Wicked Will Rise. I don't know if that's the last book or not. I'm assuming it is because I haven't seen anything else. But yeah, that's all for now. Talk to you later.